Hello, everybody. Welcome to Country ZEST Style Podcast, where we explore the beautiful community here in Middleburg, Loudoun, Fauquier, Clarke Counties, and beyond. If you're from the area and familiar with our magazine, welcome back. We hope you follow us on our social media platforms and visit our website, countryzestandstyle.com, for the online version of all our past issues, updates, and much more. For any inquiries about the magazine, please email us at badgerlen@aol.com. That's BADGERLEN@AOL.com. For any inquiries about the podcast, please email at ronenfeldman1@gmail.com. That's RONENFELDMAN1@gmail.com. This podcast is sponsored by Sheridan McMahon Realtors. More on them in a bit. Cathy, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thanks for asking me to do it.
Thank you so much also for obviously talking to Zest, and obviously a shout out to our very own Linda for writing the wonderful stories. They were great. And so before everything else, just like to start with a question for everyone who doesn't know, and by everyone I include myself. What's dowsing?
Dowsing, it's sort of a mystery, but it's goes back thousands of years. You take a fruit stick shaped like a Y and you hold both ends and you walk, and all of a sudden the stick pulls to the ground. And I put a flag in and keep putting the flags in, and can't explain why it works, but apparently not many people can do it.
I mean,
It's a
other
mystery.
than
It's sort of fun that there's some things in life you can't explain.
I guess other than that being something that helps you sort of locate water, and it being a special skill that you attribute to, I don't want to make it sound too otherworldly and attribute it to otherworldly powers, I guess, but it sounds like you maybe do attribute it
Well, some
to
people
maybe
call me a
powers.
witch. Some people call me a witch.
So what does it help with other than being able to do that? I mean, I guess since the practice exists, and I guess since, there's a word for it, how does it help? Or does it help at all with anything other than the ability to be able to do it? I guess since it is that cool, and I guess since you are doing it.
Well, it's a fun thing, and don't know why it works, but I don't know. Maybe I'm sensitive to it, or maybe it's magnetism in my system. I don't know, but watches don't work on me for very long. I wear a cheap Timex watch and throw it away when it stops. So don't know. It's fun.
I want to take you back to sort of like the time, or maybe have you take us back to the very beginning. You were born or raised or both in Northern Virginia,
On the farm where I live.
and could you tell us a little bit about how you really got into painting or art in general, and how did you decide on the exact format that you would ultimately become a master in?
Oh, you're kind. I don't remember ever not painting. As a little girl, if I was sick, I would be thrown a box of crayons in bed to play, I mean, to keep me still. I've always loved art, and I don't remember not doing it. And then I had this great art teacher, Emily Sharp, that had a great sense of humor, and my uncles helped me, and I was encouraged all along. And I guess I have a wild imagination too. sort of love to find humor in things is day to day. So yeah, I just very fortunate that when I look at a landscape, I try and remember the colors and the lighting and appreciate. I always have a little prayer, dear God, let me see the good and beauties of the world. And I guess I'm fortunate that I do see things that a lot of people don't notice.
In the interest of not getting into a discussion, unless you want to, of course, of getting into a discussion about too much about the supernatural. But it does sound, it does seem like both with, I mean, both, I guess, with just this very unconventional yet fascinating skill of just being able to locate water just so randomly with a stick, which I think like anybody else who read the story on Zest, which we obviously encourage people and hope people would read, but also the way that you paint. It almost sounds like, and obviously you would expect, it's not just something that you practice. It's not just something that comes with years and years of practice. It does sound like, there's something extra, there's something that sort of like comes natural and with a feel to what you do and just sort of like that you do with almost a sense of ease that almost happens like breathing for you.
Well, I think well, I know I'm a very sensitive person and I try and pay attention to my feelings. Um, I try, I rush around a lot. I'm sort of known to be always on the move, but I always try and take time for important things. Um, Animals and children are very important in my life too. I love animals and nurturing animals, and I love children. And I'm the emergency call and have been for years for many, many children. And I think that's all connected is being sensitive. I like to hear what children say. I love to watch their expressions. Animals seem to be very at ease with me too. And I guess my sensitivity is probably a good part of it all.
Which is
Um,
also, I think, pretty
I'm a very
interesting
private
thing, right?
person. I'm a very private person too. I associate with these things in a very private way.
Which is doubly obviously why we appreciate you doing this.
But
It's
yeah,
not
it's
it's not
very unlike
obvious.
me.
It's not very obvious that and we obviously appreciate it, but it's also I think it takes a while, obviously, as well. I mean, maybe again, maybe I'm just uh speaking out of a place of perhaps not knowing that too well, but it does like you're talking about even being, having a sensitivity and being able to connect even with animals, and that doesn't really come easily to a lot of people.
There is a little girl. I would, after school, get on my pony, and I had what my children call my pack. And by myself, I'd take off with two Labradors, a poodle, a dachshund, two cats, and a pig. And they would follow me on my pony until the sun went down. And I don't know why they did it, but we just had a great time. It was that was my pack of animals as a little girl.
You talk a little about your art specifically and uh, the stories, specifically the story about your art did mention that you sort of transitioned uh, from one, I guess, and I think it mentioned watercolors to oil paintings specifically. What drove that? How's that going? What's the difference? Anything you want to share to, with people who are either interested in painting, know nothing about it, know a lot about it.
Well,
Uh,
watercolors are very quick, and I'm sort of a quick person. I like to do a quick study, or um, oils are slow for me. And I've been known to be a little bit of a reckless person too. I've had many accidents due to horses and so on. But anyway, I had a terrible accident once, and had to wear a halo because I'd broken so many bones, including my neck. And there I was in a halo, and some friends brought an easel over and oils. So instead of sitting around feeling sorry for myself, I had a blast experimenting with oils. And it was very impressionistic, but it was everywhere. The dogs, me, my nose, everything was covered with oil paint. But I don't like how slow it is. But it's a totally different style. But every once in a while, I'll venture back to oil. But the watercolor is clean and fresh and quick. If you can't do a sky in 10 minutes, you throw it away. It's just, it has to be fast. So, and then I loved sculpting a little bit as a teenager. I really love any kind of art. And in art school, if I wanted to raise my GPA, I'd do something like wow, modern. And when I was at the Corcoran in art school to raise my GPA, everybody wanted modern in those days. So I do like wow, a modern thing, and people loved it, but it's not my thing. I appreciate modern art, but I can whip off something modern, but I always go back to my traditional watercolors.
This video is sponsored by Sheridan McMahon Realtors, a prime real estate agency in the Virginia Piedmont region. With more than 45 years in the industry, Sheridan McMahon helps you find the best properties in Loudoun, Fauquier, Clarke, and Rappahannock counties. Whether you're searching for a traditional family home in a country village, a large tract of farmland, or an equestrian property, Sheridan McMahon can assist you. Luxury homes, Virginia horse properties, and hunt country real estate in all price ranges. Check them out for all the information you need about available properties at SheridanMcMahon.com, link below.
I want to talk to you uh, about the things that do inspire you because looking at your work again, it seems like it's done so effortlessly, and especially since you're talking about how quickly you work, it seems like again for a person who dabbled a little bit, it would take me hours just to work on such detailed things within your work like a tree. I mean, how quickly does that process take?
Well, it's well, I'm trying to think of a good example. If you took just an apple and put it in front of you, most people just see an apple. But if you look at the apple, there's all sorts of colors and designs within the skin. So you sort of forget what the subject really is. If you look at a watercolor up close, it almost looks like modern art. But when you step back, it becomes real looking. But if you look at a rock, there are many, many colors in that rock. And you layer the colors. And you learn when it's wet to do one stage, and then when it's dry to dry brush over it and get texture. It's sort of modern art, really, because you sort of remove yourself from reality, and it's seeing the colors and the shapes and things.
A question that I think hope some people would appreciate is, I've been writing about the area for a hot second, but obviously uh, there are a lot of people who have been writing about it for longer, and um, it's filled with people who are not originally from Northern Virginia, who've come from different parts of the country, sometimes of the world, and just fell in love with obviously. with the area for different reasons, but you're obviously from there and you decided to stay your whole life. Uh, just how much has it changed? And how much have people over time worked to make sure that it doesn't change? Because, other places around the country are just, look nothing like they did even 20 years ago. Northern Virginia, especially Loudoun County, is one of those places that is, in a good way, stuck in time, It's just like, apart from cars, driving around, seems like it's just like it was, in the 1900s or even like the 1800s sometimes. It's just, one of those very, places that had its charms and, or maybe I'm
But
wrong, but, it's one of
it
those
takes a
beautiful
huge,
places.
huge, a lot of work for many people to keep it this way, the easements and the conservation. It's hard to believe. I think a lot of people think of fox hunting as a very elite thing, but a lot of those farms are kept intact because of horse people appreciating the countryside. And and we're lucky to have people that have invested in keeping it that way. And there are many, many really old farmers around that are sort of in the shadows of the countryside that are still farming. And and they also appreciate it. Maybe not financially, but they're very, very important to a community. All walks of life have to be involved to save it. So I feel like some of my best friends are um, well, I never pay attention to who somebody is. It's what's in their heart that counts. So um, we're very, very lucky. But yes, we've had many battles with many developers that come in and think they're going to change things, but I don't think they know how tough we can be around here. We're into we can be a feisty bunch when it comes to developers.
Any, any example that comes to mind? Because I do remember talking to one individual specifically, uh, who told me that uh, she came from another place in the country that was very rural and then moved for a time into an urban to the DC area uh, to work, and then found uh, obviously the Northern Virginia area as a sort of a middle ground because it was obviously close to an urban area, but also gave her what what she was used to from home. And it is kind of this place
Well,
where you
people make
find
a
everything.
big effort to. My husband commuted to downtown Washington for 30 some years and made that effort to do the drive so that we could raise our children in this area on a working farm, appreciating the countryside. And it was hard. He left in the dark and came home in the dark. But we sort of formed a partnership that I would do a lot of the farm work and the horses while he was making the effort to do that for us. But not many people would be willing to do that drive so that we could live where we do. It's a big commitment. So sometimes people convenience is too important to them. Um, you've got to work for a lifestyle. And I'm very lucky that we've got a good partnership as to how we were able to stay here on the farm where I grew. We did move away for a couple of several years, but luckily we ended up back on the farm.
How this is something that uh that I don't think was made clear, and so So like I'm interested to like put a ribbon on. How many pieces, if in case you even kept count over the years, how many pieces do you actually have? Are they all in the Middleburg Museum, or are they all over the place?
Oh, the show at the museum, that's just 1 year's worth of work.
So
And
all over your artistic career, you
well,
may
it's
as well
funny,
have hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of pieces.
yes, there's someone in South Carolina that has 35 of my paintings, or about that, starting from as a little girl to the present. And she's kept up with my work my entire life. When she dies, I told the children to throw a lot of them away.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me that so wait, do you think that do you actually at least keep in touch with all the people who actually have your pieces, or is it possible that
Oh, my children get very upset. I have no records of my art. And I will walk into somebody's house and I'll run over because I see a watercolor. And I went, oh gosh, I did that. But I've got, I'm being pushed to start a website and get modern, but I just really don't have any records.
we'll definitely need to find a way to do something about that because that is have you at least
But
have you signed them at least? Maybe there's a way
oh yeah,
to
yeah, yeah. They're all signed.
okay,
They're all
well
signed.
that's a step in the right direction at least.
But the museum wanted only paintings for sale. So it's a year's worth. Maybe a couple of them were in the past 2 years, but most of them are all brand new. And your art changes dramatically through the years. And I've had eye problems here and there, and my style definitely has changed from year to year. I need cataract surgery now, so they're quite bright. So,
Yeah, all professionals work changes. That's um do you I guess maybe the question is silly because I think just because of the appeal, but any reason why landscapes have you ever considered rather to do anything but landscapes, or is it just that intoxicating to do landscapes that it's just why bother to do anything other than it's a especially in a place like Northern Virginia where you're just looking at the you're looking outside of your window, and I imagine you just can't get enough of that.
well, I'm outside a lot, and I think I remember things in my mind when I come in from riding or working outside, and I try and sort of put it in my brain to remember it. I don't paint from pictures. I It's pretty much from memory. And every once in a while, I'll try and do a landscape, but it's it's sort of boring to me. Sometimes I'll do a window with things on the windowsill with the landscape behind. Um, and then if I get painter's block, which is very rare, I always have my cartoons to fall back on, where a fox will ride a Canadian goose or animals are all acting silly. And my husband will look over my shoulder and say, what comes out of your brain? So, during COVID, I did a skunk in a Christmas wreath, and the title is Christmas Stinks. And some people get it and some people don't. But so I've got a whimsical side to me too. So,
Well, since I don't know that anyone ever asked, Da Vinci or Rembrandt, I'll ask you, do you have a favorite? Because you have so many. I know a parent of paintings can't answer, or maybe you can. I don't know. So we'll see. I'll push my luck a little. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite piece of yours that you think that one was uh, particularly
I
good one?
usually I usually give my children my favorites, or if my husband really likes one, I'll keep it. But for the most part, I don't like relaxing around my own art because I always want to open it up and fix something, or it's not, I could have done better. So a lot of people think paintings in my house are mine, but a lot of times it'll be one of my uncles that painted. So I have very few of my own art in my house, unless I've given it to my husband for Christmas or something.
That's
And I think
interesting.
my children think they've got too many. They'd rather have somebody else's work at this point.
Is that keeping the competition close?
No, no,
Or
no, no.
something? Or trying
I
to figure
my
that
both
figure out
my
what that is.
boys, both of my boys really appreciate art. So but you can't have but so many. So
Yeah.
my grandchildren are 8 and 6, and since I paint in the kitchen, they they notice what I'm painting for sure, and they've got their favorites, which I try and come up with something similar to give them. But they're only 6 and 8. But the fact that at that age they're appreciating my art is pretty special.
I don't think art like that has an age limit, or yeah, an age limit, I guess. Um, I guess we'll end with this because I this is something that I truly, again, as someone who just dabbled, but I guess for anyone who ever thinks, I don't think most people can ever hope to get to your level, because obviously this is not just a lifetime of dedication, but also something, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but maybe I want to talk about something that is perhaps a little bit be we're talking about something that is in the beyond. But if you had any advice for people who might want to get a little better, want to maybe
Keep dabbling. Dabbling is the best way to go. And a lot of times I love people's artist sketches better than I like the finished product. Sometimes people try too hard and make it overly complicated. That sometimes if you take a deep breath and stop at a certain point, but keep dabbling, keep sketching, keep really mainly appreciating what's around you, and noticing colors and noticing things, but don't overwork it, and don't try and put too much in one painting. Zero in on a certain topic and just don't overdo it. And then it'll be more fun and your product will be better. Just like anything, don't overcomplicate things.
yeah, and I guess maybe we'll make it a project of ours to figure out how to maybe assemble all of your work, even if we're going to keep it in the hands of the people who bought it. I don't think that figuring out a website or something is in bad taste. I think it's actually necessary. A lifetime of work like this, especially, so incredible. But yeah, unless you have any objections, I think it's incredible. But yeah, listen, Cathy, this was really very nice of you to do. And I want to thank you for being with us again. I want to thank everyone who tuned in or will tune in. And obviously for all our readers for reading Zest. We hope you enjoyed, and obviously for enjoying the wonderful community at Middleburg, and obviously all over Loudoun County and beyond. Beautiful Northern Virginia area. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm so complimented to be noticed. And as I said, this is very unlike me to do an interview like this, but I so appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We're so appreciative of having you. Thanks, everybody.